Now, the next thing to look at is food chains and food webs. Now, I've already mentioned grass, rabbit, fox. If you think of grass, rabbit, fox from your Year 7 studies, this is a very simplistic food chain. Grass is eaten by the rabbit, the herbivore, which is eaten by the fox, the carnivore. Now, in this very simple food chain, if we were to assume the rabbit is killed by farmers, we would assume, correctly in this case, that the food chain would collapse because grass, rabbit, fox, if the rabbit dies, the grass now has no herbivore, its population rises, but the fox has lost its primary and sole food source in a food chain. Now, we know as the world interacts, this is not the case. Food chains are very basic. A much better and more accurate way to represent this information is a food web. A web, as the word suggests, is an interconnected, closed unit of food chains. They show how A affects B and how B affects E. They all link together. In the scenario of grass, rabbit, fox, in a food web, if the rabbit was destroyed, the fox would simply change food sources, and that would cause it to have more food. Likewise, the grass would lose a herbivore, the rabbit, but of course there'd be more grass for other herbivores in the scenario. Food chains are simple and accurate, but a food web is much more complicated and complex and much more valid. They are reliable because there is more information, and of course you can show the interactions. We will look now at some scenarios of food webs and how interactions can affect the populations. Here is an example of a food web. Now, as you can see, this is a great number of food chains interconnected together. Looking at an example, corn, grasshopper, rat, python, eagle as one food chain, you can see that it actually has a number of offshooting arrows or incoming arrows showing the flow of energy. In the scenario, corn, grasshopper, rat, python, eagle, the arrow shows the energy passing from the corn to the grasshopper, from the grasshopper to the rat, from the rat to the python, and the python to the eagle. When drawing food chains or food webs, it is important to show the arrows in the direction of the flow of energy. So, you can see the flow of energy from the producers to the herbivores, to the carnivores, and then of course up and up through the carnivores until you reach the top, the eagle. Now in this scenario, the eagle is called an apex predator. In these layers or levels of the food web, there are also things called the trophic level, the level of the energy. So looking at the corn, flowering plant, lavender and mango, these are producers, also called the first trophic level. The grasshopper, butterfly and fruit fly are primary consumers. They occupy the second trophic level. The rat, frog, dragonfly and thrush are secondary consumers. They occupy the third trophic level. The python, wolf, eagle, and you'll see again thrush occupy the fourth trophic level. These are tertiary consumers. Notice that the thrush appears twice as it is in two separate food chains. Just as the thrush occupies more than one trophic level, so too do the wolf and eagle. They are tertiary consumers in the fourth trophic level, but also they are quaternary consumers in the fifth trophic level. As you can see, food webs are a series of interconnected food chains. As a result, organisms can occupy more than one trophic level within that food web. This is important to know because these layering names, trophic level, consumer, producer, second consumer, are often used in examination questions. Now, let's look at a scenario. Check out the next video in this series, Ecology 3, Food Web Scenarios.